my clock, I can't stop. Fuck around, make my 40 pop. No popcorn, I pop pistols. Reaming my body, clothing no issue. Bitch, you look sick, you need a tissue. You drop a body, I just might bless you. I'm metrosexual.
Yo, what is up, everyone? It's Wraith here, back with another video. Now, I'm sorry this video is coming so late. I was doing the Trios Cup today, so I want to focus all my time on warming up for that and getting ready for the Trios Cup. We did pretty good. We got around 50 points, which I wasn't too happy with. I think we could have done a lot better. I was hoping for around the 75-ish, 80-ish range. Our first game, we actually won and got 26 points by itself, so we did really well the first game. But then the last couple games, we just kind of made stupid mistakes, stupid rotations, got clapped a couple times, had a couple throwaway games, and kind of got a little bit unlucky with RNG. But yeah, no big deal. We're going to look over the VOD reviews. We're going to figure out what we did wrong, etc., what we could have done better, and we will move on from that. So we will be ready for the next Trios tournament. But yeah, in today's video, I thought it'd be pretty important to go over how to do VOD review because I talk about it so much. And all of you guys are like, hey, you say VOD review is so important, but I really don't know how to do it. So I thought in today's video, I would show you guys how to actually do VOD review. I'm not going to be going over my own gameplay or going over pro gameplay. If you guys want me to do that, let me know. But for right now, I just thought it'd be cool to kind of mention some things that you guys can look forward to or look into during VOD review, or you can look at, whatever the case is. Up to you guys. But yeah, let's get right into today's video. And if you guys want to check out my stream, I will be streaming right after this video, so make sure you check me out, WraithAM on Twitch, or you can just click the link in the description and that'll pop up to you. Make sure you slap the like button, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and use creator code WraithFN in the item shop. Now let's get into it. So I'm going to kind of cut this video into two halves. One, I will be talking about how to VOD review a pro player or someone else, and then number two, I will be talking about how to VOD review yourself and your own gameplay. So for the pro gameplay, there's a couple things, and the first thing is figuring out when they fight and what's the reason as to why they fight. So for example, if you see a lot of good players, sometimes they take really weird fights and you're like, okay, well, why did they take this? Or if someone pushes them, you're like, why didn't they just use their launch pad and escape? So one thing you gotta look forward to and look and notice is why they fight and why they don't run in certain scenarios or why they do run in certain scenarios. Now, it changes in every single thing, but you got to look at the big picture. For example, do they need more points? Like, what point range were they at? Do they need more points? Is that why they W-keyed someone? Did they not have much mats? They knew they had to W-key someone if they wanted to do well. Did they not have any mobility, which is a big reason as to why pro players W-key? There's always going to be a reason behind someone fighting. Obviously, there are some maniacs who literally will just push no matter who it is or what the case scenario is, and that's a little bit different. But I'm talking about the average pro player, there we go, like Bizzle or Tifu. Like, they fight very intelligently. There's a reason as to why they fight people. So you just got to think about it and be like, okay, well, did they not have any movement? Did they not have much mats? Did they not like their loot? Or again, did they need more points? Were they really far behind? So that's a couple of things you can keep in mind. Now, the second thing is when they are fighting, what did they do? Like, did they push height? Did they box fight them? What edits did they do in box fight? Like, there's a couple things that there's a reason why the pro players win more fights than you do, is because they do different techniques. They, again, when do they push height? Like, do you push height in the exact same scenario? Whatever the case is, you got to look and see what they do when they get pushed or when they're fighting someone, and what they do if they get pushed. There's a lot of scenarios that can happen, and sure, you're not always going to be able to make the right one, and even the pro players aren't always going to be able to make the right one. But if you can try your best to do exactly what they do in most scenario, well, you're probably going to succeed a lot more and probably not going to die as much. Now, the next thing is figuring out and learning where they box and when they box. So once it starts getting down to the later zones, you need to start paying attention where pro players start to box, whether it's middle of the circle, whether it's the edge, whether it's on a mountain, whatever the case is, and you got to start figuring out why they do it and what they do. So for example, if there's a mountain, do they go box on the mountain? Do they box on the side? Do they go like right on the edge of the zone? Do they go in the middle of the zone? Personally, from what I've been seeing a lot of pro players do, is they like to go in the middle of the zone or very close to the middle so they don't get absolutely targeted. But they like going somewhat in the middle of the zone as they feel, I think, that it gives them the best advantage. And I've started to do it in my own gameplay as well as in the trios today, etc. And going mid-game so far for me has been working a ton more, and that's because I watch pro players, when they went, when they boxed. So you want to start making notes or start learning when people box and why they box. If they're getting pressure, do they box or do they continue pushing into zone, whatever the case is, right? You got to start paying attention to small things like that. Now, there's obviously a ton of things, and I can go on for the next 25, 30 minutes about what other things you can look for in pro players. For example, like I said, the biggest one would be how do they fight? Like when they fight, what boxes do they make? When do they peek someone? When do they not peek someone? Etc., etc. But that's basically it for pro players. That's just the basics, something you can look into. Obviously, there's a ton more, but that's a very, very basic. So that's basically it for the pros, and now let's move on to your own gameplay. So just like watching pro players' VODs, watching your own there's a lot of things that you can talk about and a lot of things you can look at. But basically what I like doing is breaking it down into two things. One, what you did well and what you did wrong. Now obviously those become still pretty big subjects, I guess you could say. But basically I'm going to be going over a couple small things that you can look over to actually help you learn what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. So the first thing is kind of, again, it's going to relate to the pros, is where did you box and was it the right decision and could you have boxed somewhere else? So whether you're looking at replays, whether you clipped it, whatever the case is, did the place that you ended up boxing near the end game, was that the right play? Should you have gone in the mounted? Should you have boxed in more center? If you weren't getting, should you have boxed on the edge? Like whatever the case is, right? I don't know. I can't watch every single one of your guys' VOD reviews, but think about it and look at it. Could you have gone a little bit farther into zone even though someone pressured you? Do you think you should have fought them, or whatever the case is, right? Figuring out where you box and if it was the right decision, again, will just help you in the future and you probably won't make the same mistake again. Now the next thing that I kind of like looking at a lot is during your fights. I think that's the biggest place that you can kind of see if you did something right or wrong. And a couple things I would look for in a fight would be, number one, did you take a lot of damage in a certain scenario where you shouldn't have? For example, did you make a bad edit and you're open, or did you try and pickaxe too long and he edited out of a brick box or something like that? Did you take too much damage in a certain spot to the point where you just got hit for like 100 health and now after the fight you only have 70 HP, or even you dropped down so low that it was just an easy kill for him, right? Another thing you can look for is, did you make any good edits? Should you remake those edits, or did you protect yourself really good in a certain scenario where you can be doing that again in a different scenario? Those are very, very important things to look for in a fight, and that's something I look for a lot. Now the next thing I'm going to talk about is more end game, and this is a very important one, is for your end game, could you have pushed height in a certain scenario, or did you push height too early, or again, did you push height perfectly? Height's a super, super important thing, where end game, you want to try your best to take height if you can. It'll just give you the best possible amount of kills, as well as the best possible amount of a chance to actually win the game. So something that I look for is, let's say I didn't take height in this fight, okay? Well, should I have taken height? Did I have the mats to take the height? Where was everyone else? Was I paying attention to where height was so I could easily get back there if someone wasn't taking height, or whatever the case is, right? That's something I like looking for a lot, is should I have taken height and when I should have taken height, or if I didn't have the ability. If I didn't have the ability or I was low on mats, should I have pushed someone, or whatever the case is, right? Now the biggest thing, and I know I said this a couple times already, but the biggest thing I would say you have to look at and pay attention to is how you died, or what the last couple decisions you made are, how you won the game. So for example, if you won, that's great, good job, keep it up, you can continue to doing it, you can continue winning, keep it up. But for example, what did you do? Did you take height, or did you box low and then shoot him down, or what did you do to actually allow you to win the game? That's a very, very important thing that you want to be keeping not keeping, but you want to be paying attention to, right? It's very, very important to know how you won and if you can replicate the same formula. And the same thing goes for how you died. What led up to the moment of your death? Like, did you run out of mats? Were you not careful enough when tunneling? Were you not worried about height if you're mid ground? If you're low ground, did you not make the right edit? Did you not tunnel properly? Whatever the case is, there's always going to be a reason for you dying, and you can't just blame it again on, oh, blah, 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 like, I didn't have any mats. Well, why didn't you have any mats? Did you not spend enough time farming? Did you not push someone when you should have? Whatever the case is, you need to figure out what it was, realize your mistake, and then go back and fix it for the next game. Now, this is the biggest hard one. You can't let your ego get in the way of it. You have to be like, okay, well, like, I made a mistake here. I should have done this, blah, 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 and that will help you fix it quite a bit. So figure out what you did wrong, fix it, figure out what works for you, and continue doing that. That's probably the biggest ones I would say. But yeah, that's basically it for today's video. If you enjoyed, make sure you slap that like button, make sure that subscribe button, make sure you comment what you want to do for a future video, and use creator code WraithFN in the item shop. Make sure you check out my stream, and yeah, that's it for today's video, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace.